Imagine opening your own front door, only to find your daughter-in-law standing there with a smug smile, holding your suitcase. "You don't live here anymore," she says, "in a house you bought, furnished, and loved for 25 years. Now imagine, she just won the lottery." That's what happened to me. But I didn't cry for long, because karma was already on her way. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you treated like family, you'll understand this story. It isn't just about greed. It's about respect, betrayal, and the sweetest revenge I've ever seen. I never thought my own generosity would turn into the weapon used against me. My name's Margaret. I'm 64, a retired nurse, and until last year, I thought I'd done a decent job raising my son, Ethan. Ethan married Clara 5 years ago, a woman I once adored. She was warm, polite, always brought flowers when she visited. At least at first. After the wedding, things changed. Suddenly my house, the one my late husband and I had built from scratch, became too old-fashioned for her taste. She'd roll her eyes at my floral curtains, criticize the furniture, and talk endlessly about her dream home. I stayed quiet. I wanted peace. But deep down, I knew Clara had always looked down on me. On us. A few years later, Ethan lost his job. I offered them a solution: move in with me until they got back on their feet. My house was paid off, big enough for all of us, and honestly, I missed having family around. Clara smiled sweetly and said, "Oh, Margaret, that would be such a help." But behind that smile I caught a flicker, something calculating. The first few months were fine. But as soon as Ethan found a new job, things started to shift. Clara began redecorating, replacing furniture without asking, painting walls, rearranging my kitchen. "It's for the best, Mom," Ethan said whenever I protested. "Clara just wants to make it feel like home. Her home, not mine." Then one morning everything changed. I was sitting at the breakfast table when Clara came bursting in, screaming, "I won! Oh my God, I won!" She was holding a crumpled lottery ticket, jumping up and down. $85 million. Ethan looked stunned, speechless. But Clara? She turned into a different person overnight. She started talking about new houses, luxury cars, private jets. She barely looked at me anymore. When I congratulated her, she smiled that sharp little smile and said, "Don't worry, Margaret. We'll take care of you." Something in her tone made my stomach turn. 3 weeks later, I came home from visiting a friend, and my key didn't work. The locks had been changed. I knocked, confused, and Clara opened the door. She looked radiant, dressed in designer clothes, diamond earrings glittering in the sunlight. "Oh, Margaret," she said coolly, "we've decided it's time for you to move on." My heart dropped. "Move on? This is my house." She tilted her head. "Was your house? We've already transferred it into Ethan's name months ago, remember? You signed those papers for the refinancing." I froze. Those papers, the ones she said were for insurance updates. My own signature stared back at me when she waved a copy. I felt dizzy. My chest tightened. She had tricked me. "You can collect your things," she said, tossing my old suitcase at my feet. "We've booked you a hotel for 2 nights. After that, well, you'll figure it out." Then she shut the door. On me. In my own house. For the first time in decades, I was homeless. I stayed at that hotel for 2 nights, then moved into a small senior apartment. My savings were limited. I'd given most of it to help Ethan and Clara years ago. I cried for days. Not because of the money, but because of the betrayal. Ethan barely called. When he did, it was always rushed. "Sorry, Mom," Clara stressed. But one thing about getting older, you learn patience. You learn to watch. And I watched everything. About 6 months later, I saw a headline online. "Local lottery winner faces lawsuit over tax fraud allegations." It was Clara. Apparently, in her rush to enjoy her riches, she'd failed to declare her winnings properly and made several illegal investments through shady financial advisors. I didn't gloat. Not yet. Then Ethan called me for the first time in months. His voice was trembling. Mom, we're in trouble. Clara's accounts are frozen. They're taking the house. I paused. Let that sink in. The house. My house. And that's when I decided I wouldn't just let karma handle it. I'd make sure justice was thorough. That I went to a lawyer, the same one who handled our estate after my husband passed. I explained everything. How Clara had tricked me into signing over ownership, how she'd used deceit. He reviewed the documents and smiled. Mrs. Lawson, this looks like fraud. You may have a solid case, especially if we can prove she misrepresented those papers. Within weeks, the investigation began. Clara's forged refinancing papers didn't hold up. She had altered several pages after I'd signed them. Ethan was dragged into court. The judge ruled that the transfer was fraudulent and reversed ownership back to me. When the judgment came through, I visited the property one last time. Clara was outside, crying on the driveway next to her repossessed Mercedes. She looked up when she saw me. You did this, she screamed. I smiled calmly. No, Clara. You did. Then I handed the officer the keys, my keys, and walked back inside. The air smelled the same. Faint lavender, just like I remembered. But the house felt different. It wasn't just walls and furniture anymore. It was justice. Clara lost nearly everything in legal fees and penalties. The lottery money gone. Ethan eventually filed for divorce. He came to me one night, tears in his eyes. I'm so sorry, Mom. I should have protected you. I forgave him. But I also told him something I'll never forget, saying, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. The first time. Now I live peacefully again in my old home. I even turned one of the spare rooms into a small reading nook for seniors from the neighborhood. And every time I sit there, sunlight pouring through the curtains Clara once hated, I smile. Because sometimes karma doesn't need a push. It just needs time and a signature. Clara thought she'd taken everything from me, my home, my dignity, even my peace. But in the end, greed took everything from her. And me? I got back not just my house, but my strength. Life has a way of revealing people's true colors when money enters the picture. But no amount of gold can hide a rotten soul. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs a reminder that karma always comes full circle. Tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that prove justice always finds its way.